I would ask,
Oh, sorry.
I would ask that we make sure I put this swap 6162 because I will be recusing myself from 61 and I have an appointment at 9:30, so I don't know that. So by swapping those would be appreciated.
So you want to swap the budget with the encouragement permit?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What?
With that, I'll move the.
I have a motion. Can I get a second? Second. I have a second by Trustee Hill. Board Secretary, please call the roll. Trustee Lee Reader. Aye. Gilbert.
Aye.
Countess.
Aye.
Baines.
Aye.
Chan.
Yes.
Hill.
Aye.
Smith absent. Trustee Baines, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, any potential conflict of interest? We've already discussed yours.
Discuss mine.
Anyone else? Okay, hearing none, on to presentation.
No presentations this morning.
Okay, on to public comment.
Yes, we have Joe Kelly and Lauren Rose from the Thomas Chamber this morning. I'd like to make some comments.
Thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity to come in to speak with you today. We are gotta get used to all this stuff. You know, we don't have microphones in our meetings. We wanted to thank you, first of all, for your sponsorship of our State of Natomas event. It was by far our best event in terms of fundraising. And we also wanted to, thank you, Elena, for participating on the panel. We received such great feedback about the participation. So thank you for all of your support, and we look forward to hopefully some a participation potentially in next year's event.
Do you have any comments? We were very happy to support the event and support our community, and it was so very nice to see everyone there. And I'm sorry the MC is not present, physically present.
Thank you guys for letting me on this.
Nice job, Joe.
And thank you, Howard, for everything.
Okay, on to the general manager's report.
All right. So this month of April, primarily focused on getting the draft budget pulled together. And then I just want to report out on a couple other things. First one, our San Juan pump station did get vandalized. We're working to get that back online. Gabe may have some additional comments. So we're prioritizing getting that back online and sort of filling up the ag operations down there. Just a brief update on the Natomas Basin project. There's more details in the report, but Reach A and Pumping Plant 1A, 1B work will be starting this month. Plant 5 and the Natomas Mutual Water Company crossings are still targeted for an award this year before the end of the federal fiscal year. That's September 30. And then the state announced there's an $80 million line item in the president's budget for Natomas that they're hoping will stick. And the Corps is working to advance Reach G, which also includes our pumping plant 6 work. So that's update there. Just general items. We had 2 new hires. Mike Rhodes returned. I think I reported that out last week. And then Timmy Curry, we brought on full-time as our administrative assistant. We do have 2 candidates, pretty promising candidates for the remaining flood ops specialist position that we're working towards. We're relocating today to the venture office now, where we were last year, or you were last year. I was there, but not this year. So next board meeting and future board meetings until November will be either in the venture office now, conference room, or if that's booked, Larson Roselle and Associates has offered up their conference room.
We're not manned.
No.
I want to say congratulations to Timmy and welcome to the team and thanks for being a trooper throughout everything and showing up on weekends when we needed extra help.
As far as the relocation, for some of us who have muscle memory and we show up at the wrong place every time, would you just put both on the next week?
Yes.
Remember the relocation. Thank you. That's a good thing.
And then a follow-up from last board meeting on reimbursement of our temporary move. I have been talking with Safeco, and they're looking into making sure there's a justification they can put together so that it's part of a project cost, but it looks promising.
Oh,
Great.
The strategic planning workshop we talked about at the last board meeting, was hoping to hold that this month, but with travel plans, which couldn't make that happen. So I'm going to postpone that probably till after all the August travels or summer travels. So August, September timeframe. And then we'll hold that workshop. And then the last report back from the last board meeting on the basin-wide MOU, there's a question about Sutter County catching up with their full 25% cost share. I'm still coordinating with staff up there on that item. So I'll have more to report out next month. And that's all for my report this month, unless there's other questions.
Still gonna have the day-long training at County Grand. First week of June.
In June 6th, I believe. 2nd. June 2nd. Yeah.
Thank you.
If you're available.
And it's what time is it? Scott.
You're taking away all of the content I was going to offer during my council
I'm
report.
sorry.
By asking this question now.
We're talking about calendars.
But in answer to your question, it'll start at 9 a.m. It's most likely at our office unless we get so many enrollees that we have to move to a larger space. And it will be 3 2-hour trainings and they will be time specific. So if you don't need all 3, you can just come to the ones that you need. If you haven't RSVP'd yet, please do RSVP to my office. I can connect you with the person if you need me to, and so that we know how much space we need and what kind of food we need.
It's got, so a question on reach, you said F and G. So G, we're waiting because that's in the president's proposed budget. I guess, or the budget to the president, I suppose, or is it
It's the president's budget to Congress.
Okay.
Had the line item.
So that's for G, but F, like, what's final design's done? It said contracts are being negotiated. I read that right. So are those being contracted together, F and G?
No, based on the $80 million, the Corps is working towards a phased F and G. They're linking them together in terms of reporting, but it's going to be a phased contract. So
F is funded though, right? I mean, there is money that's been appropriated.
No, there's not been money appropriated for F.
Oh, there has not.
No. So E is wrapping up. They're doing a final inspection this morning or today. It's kind of an old day from F and G were together. With the 80 million, they're targeting G as a higher risk reach to award that contract first.
Okay.
Mm.
All right. Yeah, and on the yeah. Sorry, just scroll through this here. I thought I had a question on one other item on the strategic plan. Yeah, so thanks for that. Yeah, I was hoping to get that done before the budget, but we'll talk more on the budget.
On the G, F and G, it's actually, when we do the work, once the money allocation, is it gonna be RD or state?
No, that would be a Corps of Engineers contract.
Okay, on to the operation manager's report.
Good morning. Few items here. Worked with the Central Valley Flood Protection Board on multiple enforcement actions along Garden Highway, along with some permitting meetings with landowners. Sac County DOT is scheduled to pave Powerline Road from Del Paso to Interstate 5. In order to pave, they need to have shoulder backing on the west side of Powerline Road, which may impact our drainage conveyance on the M7 ditch. So we met with them out in the field and asked them to provide a cross section to further evaluate their needs. We just don't want to lose conveyance in our drainage facility there. So the Army Corps is scheduled to perform seismic drilling on the land side of the levee near Pritchard and Elkhorn. This is related to levee certification efforts. So we'll be watching them next week when they start drilling for their inspections. MUD has requested to place a power pole along the south side of our C1 channel for some upcoming development near the Northgate property. So we did review their design submittal. However, it looked like it was going to impact future operations for us in the area. So we sent them a revised drawing to locate the poles on the north side. So we're waiting on the response from their design team on that. And like Scott said, San Juan Pumping Plant was vandalized. So I've been working with SMUD on de-energization and then also to complete the repairs for the electrical and we get that energized back up. And as far as the maintenance, mowing's in full swing, we're focusing on the interior drainage canals at the moment, working our way up to Elkhorn Boulevard. That's all I have.
Any questions? Okay, on to district council's report.
Just to make sure what I talked about earlier was clear, the three different segments of topics for the training are the financial training, which is a new requirement and must be completed in the next 2-year period unless you were appointed to the position within the first since January 1, which Howard was, so his requirement is due by June 30. And the other are the traditional sexual harassment prevention training and the ethics training, also known as AB 1234 or AB 1234 training. Also note that there's actually lots of other trainings that are out there for board members, just carrying this message out to different boards as I visit with them. There's all sorts of leadership training for boards and learning about Brown Act and all those different things. And we're members of SDRMA, SDCSA. Yeah, the other one's the insurance agency. And so Jolene can provide those trainings to you if you're interested. Since we talked about district council material under the general manager's report, I'll add one general manager's item under my report so we can further confuse the two Scotts. Scott was correct about the $80 million appropriation that's in the budget for Natomas. It's actually a misleading number. The real number is bigger, because the Army Corps of Engineers changed their budgeting procedure and they're no longer including in project-specific allocations salaries. They've now moved salaries into a different line. So it's really $80 million of contractors and another $26 million of allocation for salaries to administer the programs. So under the old way that the budget was presented, this would have been a $106 million number. So I just want to point out this is a really big number this year and great support from the federal government to finish this project up. My only other item is going to be closed session. So unless you have questions, I'm good for today. Okay.
Okay, on to the consent calendar. Can I get a motion? Okay, I have a motion by trustee Bain and a second by trustee Hill. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Consent calendar is approved. On to, okay, so on to item 6.2.
Okay. Good morning. Did my best to pull together a budget that had some fiscal responsibility in it to try to balance. Met with all of the committees, kind of explained the approach to come up with a balanced budget based on feedback from those committees, made some adjustments. So I'll walk through the budget report at a high level and just stop me if you have questions. All right.
Yeah, I'll just note, Scott, that this is the first. None of the committees I serve on, met to discuss the budget.
And I apologize for not recognizing that and giving you a briefing. All right, so walking through, probably the first item to stop on is the reorganization. I made a note here of what our current organization is and what the proposed changes would be. And just to reiterate, changes would be to create a new general manager position. It would be to eliminate the operations manager position and consolidate the operations to a superintendent foreman management structure, fairly traditional. I did poll all of the trustees. There is a majority of trustees that are in agreement with the reorganization. Most of the trustees indicated that the reorganization was my prerogative to make. And there was not a consensus on timing, but there was general thought of sooner rather than later was the feedback that I got from the trustees. So with that feedback, the budget here incorporates the reorganization of the agency.
So a few questions on that, Scott. So yeah, certainly would have liked to have the benefit of a strategic planning workshop to discuss the particulars, but it is your prerogative. Relative to the budget, when I reviewed it, it wasn't clear to me what the delta was between, what the impacts of the reorg were relative to the budgetary impacts.
So under personnel budget, the wages increased by around 25,000, little less than 25,000. Depending on who we have to fill the deputy general manager position, that will impact whether there's a pension impact or not.
Can you explain that?
It depends on if that person that we find has been PERS and is a classic tier, they'll have a higher impact. If they're PEPRA, they'll have a lower, or tier 2 would be somewhere in the middle. As far as the other personnel items, the total count is not changing. So most of the other health insurance, taxes, payroll taxes, those will pretty much wash out.
Now, if I read this correctly, there's a decline in personnel budget. Where did I see that? Yeah, personnel expenditure. There was a decline in this year's budget. Did I misread that?
A slight decrease, yeah.
And that's with the reorganization?
Correct. That's correct.
You're budget to budget, right?
Yeah.
Budget to budget, right?
Yeah.
It is an increase over current fiscal year and expected expenditures, but a slight decrease to last year's budget.
Yeah, the personnel expenditures are estimated to be 3% less than the previous budget year, resulting in a decrease of approximately $83,000.
That's budget over budget, yes.
Okay.
All right, so budget summary, if you look at page 6, it gives like you can go through the highlights of it. Bottom line, though, is we're looking at about a little under $600,000 deficit that we would run this year using the reserves to advance some capital improvements. And then when we get to the administrative costs, you'll see there's a placeholder for a contested election this year that makes up a good chunk of that as well. Revenues, we have 3 primary sources of revenue, being the stormwater fee, our benefit assessment, and the funds from Safeco providing our portion of the revenue out of their CC 82. And then some other minor miscellaneous items that come in. I did not make any budgeting this year for any grant funding. FMAP, FSRP still not funded this fiscal year. And I think last year there was anticipation of a community funded project, community project funding out of Ame Barra's office. I don't think we're in a position to actually expend that. I think that $3 million for targeting backup generators at Plant 8. Those projects, Congress likes to see those funds expended in one year, and we're not in a position to do that. So not pursuing that this year.
It wasn't going to happen anyways.
Any questions on revenue?
Sure.
I will say, I'll let you finish up. I have a list of subject matter questions, so we'll just let you finish. And,
Okay, we'll go high level, then we'll come to questions.
Yeah.
I would like to ask, are there any grants that, or programs that we've applied for that have a possible, that could possibly increase the revenues?
There are no grant fundings at this opportunities at this time. Overall O&M expenditures, a slight decrease in terms of budget over budget from one year to the next. Those include in personnel. We kind of hit these highlights, but the reorg has about a $22,000 hit in wages. Let's see, we worked through our OPEB liability payments so we have ongoing payments, and then we have our option to fund at the trust. We met yesterday with CalPERS to go through where we are. We're fairly well funded, like 92% funded. One of the comments that Howard made was he'd like to see discussion about where we are with our OPEB funding and our pension liability, and come up with a game plan for what we need to prioritize and move forward with over the next few years. So I'll be doing that later this year.
So, can I just ask you, so the budget has a shortfall of 573,000, and just so I get my brain around it, portion of that is made because we don't have a contested election, and another portion is the fact that we've voluntarily paying down some of the pension liability.
Yeah, that's about 100,000 a year is what we get a number from an actuarial that tells us what we should be, a recommendation for funding. We can make that payment. We can also reimburse ourselves up to an amount that's the forecasted annual health costs. Trying to get this right. Health costs plus a little extra for market changes. Those tend to, this year they've been kind of balanced, so that's something that we can look at to make at the end of next year.
So by paying it down, we save a little money on the amount the current bill we have to pay.
No, there's an amount we pay for annuitant healthcare, the CERT, which is a trust that we're paying into, gives us a balance of funds for future obligations that allows us to have a smaller liability on our books.
The circumstance, got both pension and.
It is just OPEB.
Just open.
There's a separate trust that the board is not elected to contribute to yet for pension.
Just,
That's what I said.
history is that
We don't have a
we
quorum.
did, and this was back in.
We'll let you see how we do it.
First time we looked at liability, we had significant fund balance.
We'll see how it goes before this goes.
So we would 100% understand how the changes in actual stuff.
Right.
And so forth. So you said 91%, but that was for, right?
That's just for OPEB.
So the pension funding is still based on the first,
Correct. Correct.
which is probably 7%. I'm guessing.
I don't know where we are on that. We're going to get our reporting here and that'll fold into the discussion of where we are
Got it.
moving forward. But I don't have that answer for you this morning.
Thank you. I was just trying to anchor that deficit is not necessarily a hard deficit. Part of it is that we're voluntarily paying down,
Correct.
and the other part of it is something that may happen, that may not.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
That's right. For operations expenditures, generally pushed our current year expenditures forward with a little bit of adjustment. The main facility repairs that we're undertaking is trash rack repairs or replacement parts at Plant 8. Those are to arrive, fingers crossed, this month, maybe early June. We'll make that payment for the materials in this fiscal year. Next fiscal year, we'll get those installed, and we have a contractor that helps us install those. I also have $50,000 in there for replacing the battery bank at Plant 1. It's been out, just needs to get replaced. It's needed when we have a big year and we're trying to start multiple pumps, which we haven't had to deal with, but we need to get that replaced. And then Plant 4 will be coming back online over the next few months. We're working through testing right now. And PG&E is requiring us to monitor the voltage of the battery bank that they required to be installed. We're going to do that through SCADA. So there's an integration with SCADA that has to occur. All the local equipment and programming is part of the Plant 4 project, but integrating with ours will take some additional programming and testing. Let's see. This year has been an early growth year in terms of weed. And so I did plan for 3 aquatic herbicide applications this year instead of 2. And then the other significant item is additional security at pumping plants. So San Juan was hit first time since it was built in '98. So we're going to install Sonatrol there at San Juan, install it also at Riverside, which is just up the way. And then Plant 4 coming online, we'll install Sonatrol there as well, so that we have an eye on all our pump stations. Each installation is roughly 30 grand. And then all together is another additional monitoring that runs about 18,000.
Will those be cameras?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, those are cameras.
One client actually doing electric fences. Just an interesting point, not complicated stuff.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Interesting service where you hire them and they own the electric fence. They run it for you. You're paying on a lease fee to run the electric fence.
Yeah, they run it like an alarm system. Yeah. So my law firm has a client that does that kind of activity, and they do a lot of work with commercial operations like car lots for dealers, for example. Yeah, there is a permitting process, but I got to tell you, pretty darn effective.
Yeah.
It's in essence, for anybody within the livestock community. Yeah, it's basically 10,000 volts, which is what you're running an electric fence to keep in cattle or horses. But it's just, obviously done in a way that is a theft deterrent, vandalism deterrent.
High voltage, low current. That's
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, these systems are shocking how effective they are.
Yes.
okay. Moving on.
Are we getting charged for that? Is that
Oh my God, nerds.
Okay, so last three items under operations notes for fuel. We all know that fuel costs have spiked up, so I added 20% year-over-year budget to account to accommodate what we're seeing. It'll be what it is, but I just wanted to have a little extra cushion there. For power, I took a different maybe approach than what has been done in the past. I looked at the last 5 years of power costs. Every month is going up and down depending on what storms run through. But I looked at a sort of average per month that occurs and use that to budget the 600,000. It won't cover an extreme weather event. That would have to come out of reserves, but I didn't want to lock up budget item for unforeseen or for power that would never be occurring on every year. For refuse collection, there's 50,000 for dump fees for what we pick up, both just general trash and for homeless. And then I did include a line item there for a contractor to do bi-monthly cleanups along the East Drain, out in NIMDEC, and down along the airport along San Juan. It's about $5,000 a day. It would be used as needed. If we saw an uptick in activity, we could get in and clean and keep bridges clean, cut down on requests for sort of ad hoc cleanups and try to make it a little more routine. So that's in the budget. We can have discussions about how to utilize that most effectively, but I did put that placeholder in there. Okay, moving to admin costs. Again, generally everything was reconciled to last year's expenditures. Under accounting and the audit budget line item, we do have actuarial service for GASB reporting this year, so that's every 2 years. We have annual audit that we did. Trustee Gilbert, we did get a proposal from Richardson that was in line pretty much with last year, so we're going to extend that for this year. We'll get that on the agenda for next month to approve. And then I did include an increase for our CPA services. His rates, he's been holding rates for 3+ years. And so I have a line item in the budget to increase to current rates with what he's charging his other current clients like American River and others to sort of current level costs. Let's see here. For admin consultants, with the reorg occurring, I did want to go back and confirm our salary ranges. So there's a classification and compensation survey in the budget this year. She will be able to utilize the work that she's done that hasn't been finalized this year and just revisit the classifications, repull as necessary to finalize those recommendations. And that will help inform next year's budgeting. And then I also included 20,000 in there for a recruiter to support the deputy general manager recruitment. Temporary, let's see, we already talked about that. Um, there's nothing else really to highlight there. Oh, so down at the election. So you'll see that's a big item, $160,000. This assumes we have a contested election this fall. I went back to the last contested election, which was in 2022. And that amount was about $140-ish thousand. So I just escalated a couple percent a year over the time period to land at this 160,000. So that will obviously depends on if we have a contested election and how we staff that, but that would include temporary staffing and mail-ins and everything.
Is this, what you were comparing to, is this the partial election? Or
This is a partial election, and that's what was compared to,
what was
yes.
compared to
Yeah.
partial?
Yep, partial. Any other questions on the administrative budget? No, you're holding yours, so we'll get to yours. Under consulting contracts, so consulting contracts, I just put good placeholder budgets that I felt comfortable with for the general district engineering and a set aside for any specialized request for technical support there. I did include 80,000 for update of the development impact fee to finalize that update, and also include calculating fees for some of the anticipated development that will come through next year. And then our cost share of 75,000 for the basin-wide model update is what's on the books or being proposed right now, but I am in discussion with Sutter County to see if that would change.
So would that be in or out?
That includes them paying 25% of the additional work to be done.
Right.
The request from Trustee Avedis was to see if they would backfill the previous 25% of prior work
We've
done.
done nothing with that part. We just.
Correct. Just assumes the work going forward, and I can hopefully get that resolved and updated in the final budget for next month.
What's the temporary administrative?
Temporary administrative staff, I had a placeholder there just to have coverage as we transition Timmy in full time and backfill some of the ongoing work, just to have some overlap for continuity. We'll use it as we feel like we need to try to minimize use of that.
You're right.
For equipment expenditures, you can see is a zero here this year. I elected to, we have one boom mower that we need to replace. If we order today, it's about a year to 2 years out to get, and that's when we would pay it. And as I went through the budget, I wasn't super comfortable about creating a liability in future fiscal years. So we're going to defer this till next year when I have a better grasp of the budget and where we're landing on items to make that decision for next year.
Funding or the actual decision?
The decision will be next year, and then we'll put that order in. If that's the decision we make, payment will be in the following fiscal year as the equipment is delivered.
So the current equipment is functional.
Yes, it's just on,
discussion. Okay.
right. It's if it's working fine, it's just it's on a path to need to be replaced. And then no fleet vehicles needed this year for our zero emission vehicle requirements. We anticipate next year. Well, we need 2 by 2030. So we're going to space those out, do one in next year and then one in 2030. So nothing in the budget this year for that. Under CapEx expenditures, the main things here are our ongoing payments for the Northgate property. There's the biggest line item there, just under 700,000. And so that impact there kind of narrowed down what I was looking at for the remaining of the CapEx to try to get to a reasonably balanced budget. I do want to go back and revisit the CIP plan, make sure that the items in there do not include any items that the Corps is performing. Make sure those get excluded. Get an update on costs since 2020 was when that was prepared, I believe, 2020 or 2022. So get an update on costs and then look at how do we program those costs out, come up with at least a framework for a financing plan to come back to the district or to the trustees with. For Plant 8, I do want to finish design and have that ready, sort of shovel ready in case there's grant opportunities, and just button that up. There's some decisions we need to make there. Be good to get behind us. And then just a couple of other items. So culvert replacement program, we need to start hitting the culverts, particularly in the agricultural service area. There's one that's being replaced this weekend, coordinating with the Thomas Mutual on that. But there's several others that we need to start paying attention to. And then GIS. I'd originally excluded GIS. And I felt like it's one of those that's easy to exclude, and we could just keep pushing it, and then we never have a GIS system. So I did include 50,000 in the budget for the first phase. Get a consultant on board to help us develop the framework and for the system, come up with what we want it to accomplish for us, and then do some initial data acquisition to start filling the system up. So that was an addition after the operations committee. I remember I had originally had that at 0, and I changed my mind on that one. I decided to put that in. No capital repairs or upgrades for this office. We'll do that once the core's done, and that will be they'll be finished in 27. They'll be finished in 27, and then we'll start looking at that. But paint, dry rot, some select window replacements, things like that. We'll look into that. Start looking at that next year. And that concludes, I guess, the last thing one thing to note on the real estate line item under capital expenditures. My assumption is that we bring the tenant relocation to a completion this fiscal year. I know that may or may not occur, but at least for budgeting assumptions, that's where I have it. If that extends in, we'll revisit pulling from reserves to cover whatever actions required there. Okay.
Hey, trustee.
Hey, Scott.
Oh,
Yep.
Go ahead, Howard.
Hey, I just have 2 quick questions. I want to first say thank you, Scott. I know that we talked about a lot of these numbers and adjustments during committee, so I appreciate you incorporating the conversations we had. But I'm going to jump back real quick to the budget to actual comparison from earlier in the consent calendar. And I understand that we were anticipating some money coming out of Ami Bera's office, so that accounts for a big chunk of it. But if you look back to that number, and maybe I'm missing something here, but it looks like about 10 out of we're about 10 months into this fiscal year, and on the revenue side, we've collected only 30%. So I mean, is there another number that we're missing here? Because I factored out $3 million, and we're still coming up pretty short as compared to budget. Was there another grant that we're anticipating that we didn't get? So I'm sorry, I'm trying to look at the page here. Board packet page 34.
It's 5.1 or 5.2.
Page what?
Page
34.
Oh, okay.
34.
Here, thank you, Julie.
Yeah.
So there is a second payment, I believe, coming for the fee that has not been recognized in the counting yet.
I
So
see
the
the
second
district
half of the
stormwater
district
fee
stormwater
line.
fee,
Vehicle, January and April.
right? That hasn't been reconciled yet. And then the payment from Safeco, we are working to get that invoice over to them right now. So that's about $1.5 million.
Okay, yeah, I just, I was just looking at it. It looks like 83% of the fiscal year has elapsed. We only collected 30% of what we're looking at for budget. And, I think it was $3 million, the Almi Bara money.
Yes, it was
Yes.
3 million.
Okay, so, all right, I just wanted to point that out. And the second thing is on the security patrol piece. I know I'm bouncing back to your budget presentation. We are not going to reduce anything on that line item, and we're going to redouble our efforts with security staffing during the peak times. Is that correct going forward?
That's correct. So what we discussed in ops was instead of having 2 back-to-back shifts from 5 to 8 in the morning, or 4 to 8 in the morning, we're going to focus to have 2 patrol officers on at the same time, from 9 to 5. That seems to be the more active period where we're seeing issues come up or notice people wandering around our facilities. So we'll increase
9 p.m. to 5 a.m.
9 p.m. to 5 a.m. Yeah. And
That's
so
perfect.
keeping the same budget, but having 2 patrols, so increasing our frequency. And then I will be meeting with, following up with another meeting with Natomas Mutual and TMBC to see, sort of overlap our patrolling to see if there's a way to get back to cost sharing with single agency or single patrol company.
Perfect. Thank you, Scott.
Okay, so one of the issue areas was the security patrols. Obviously, those are, I think, very important. I thought I read a decrease in spending. Maybe I misread in the budget. So I'm glad to hear that we're not. But can you tell me what I'm reading wrong? I'm trying to find the page real quick because I thought I read that we're decreasing spending on security patrols.
I'm looking at it now, $1,000.
I saw it go down. I don't remember by how much, but it was enough for me to go, why are we not doubling down on security patrols? So I figured I was missing something. So I appreciate the clarification there.
So yes, on page 14 of my budget report, you are correct. Budget, year-over-year budget did decrease.
Yeah.
I don't have insight into where that 225 number came from last year. The 180 is based on
What we actually
what
spent.
we're currently projected to spend.
Well, when did we switch from, rock? That was long.
No, that was a long time. That was.
I think we didn't we make a payment? That we run through last year?
Okay.
Yeah, we're mixing apples and oranges here. Yeah.
Well, the 180 is what we're currently paying for 2 back-to-back shifts. We're going to overlap those and focus them in the middle of the.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I mean, obviously, protecting our facilities from vandalism and with the uptick in, honestly, I see money that we spend on security patrols also benefiting on the trash refuge side. For those of us that live very close to RD 1000 facilities and see this stuff on the daily basis. I mean, homeless encampments are an enormous problem. And, we're spending a lot of money on refuge. I want, one of the other questions I had was relative to that. Again, with refuge collection, I thought I read, and I'm sorry, you talked through it, and I guess I should have organized this sequentially in the way the report was presented, probably would have been more efficient. But in any event, I thought there was a decrease in what we're budgeting on a refuge collection, but is that also the same circumstances, what we just talked with security for budget versus what we actually spent?
Correct.
Okay. And then, I'd like to, do we have on our homepage on our website, do we track metrics for trash collection? If there's one subject matter area that I get talked about with constituents out in the district, it is certainly about homeless encampments and refuge collection and what efforts, we have a good story to tell that we're doing more than our fair share. And we're, obviously being good stewards of the public trust with the little funds we do have, but we do spend a lot of money trying to address issues that are really ancillary to our primary mission. But I do think we need to do a better story. And whether that, I know, Gabe, you track it in the ops report. If we can distill that down to some simple, kind of understood way on our homepage, and just so for people to understand and be able to quickly reference, like, where that money is going, and what's it doing. Going back to the CIP, obviously that's we always talk about it's super high priority. Obviously, we spent a lot of time and effort, and obviously residents, property owners put a lot of trust in us with the recent increase in rates to pay for these projects. I continue to be concerned about the staleness of our old CIP, so I am happy to hear that you're going to review. I hope that's something we're going to review, and I don't know, in the context of the specific plan. And this is where, at least for me, you're like 3 months in now. I'm process driven, right? And if there was one thing on the reorg that I'll tell you that bothered me, we're moving forward, was the process of doing that. It didn't come to the board. You made those recommendations. You made the decision. That's fine. But going forward, when it comes to policy decisions like that, I think they need to come to the board for discussion. And I hope the CIP, so I'm flagging this. I hope there's a report. If it's discussing committees, fine. But the CIP is super important, and I want to have the opportunity as a board to collectively discuss, the review of that and sort of where we're going forward, charting that course forward. As it relates to the LWA contract, I think outreach is going to be critically important. If they're going to update the diff specifically, that diff is outdated and does not reflect what we talked about relative to infrastructure components or otherwise that were included in the core project. So that's stale as well. But the diff program and the CIP, they kind of fold together to some degree. And so I want to make sure there's adequate outreach to our growers, to the development community and other stakeholders in the basin to make sure that we're adequately prioritizing infrastructure components that people deem critical as well, right? That we're all on the same page. And it's partially, I think, an education campaign as well for people to understand. I was wondering, the $80,000 that we're spending on LWA, I don't recall the last time, it's been a while, but do we roll that money into an administrative component to be reimbursed by development impact fee payers, correct? So
Yes.
So homeowners, for example, live here, are not paying for, the diff update. Right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Yes, there's an administrative fee that's charged on top of the rates that are calculated that covers those costs for the district, and only those, no existing landowner, homeowner is paying for this effort. It's all being paid for by
Okay.
diff.
And as it relates to the hydraulic model update, we talk about it a lot, but it's important for a lot of things that we do. And so I want to be clear on that the benefit for the hydraulic model is for everyone, right? So that's important for existing property owners and homeowners, and as well as any future planned. The hydraulic model is critical for our operations and kind of future planning. As it relates to mowing, I was curious this year because of late rains. Is there going to be another round of mowing because of that? And how are we budgeting for that? How are we accounting for that from a budgeting perspective? Do we have that sort of factored in last year's budget for this season?
I think I just pushed sort of the average amount that we've been doing for mowing. It's really staff, right? Staff time is the primary driver.
Correct. Well,
Fuel. Right. So the fuel costs, have an increase in it to account for that. The real impact, I think, in terms of a second round or a third round of mowing is schedule for staff to accomplish other things besides mowing, right? So
right.
it's more of the operational hit than a budget hit for that.
All right. We talked about SCADA and Sonatrol. One of the things we haven't talked about in a while, and I just wanted to flag it. I recently heard, a cybersecurity breaches at universities and hospitals, and and I just want to flag it as making sure that in the budget we're accounting for whatever we need to do from a cybersecurity perspective. I mean, these are critical infrastructure components that potentially could be jeopardized by, bad actors. And I just maybe revisit like what exactly what have we done, cybersecurity wise. Like for example, there's other boards that I serve on. I have to take, cybersecurity threat training, something like that. Do we do that here? I actually hate to even ask the question because I don't know. Certainly not as a board member. Haven't had, but as staff, is that something that?
I don't think that we've had a formal cybersecurity training event to sort of go through that. If that's seems prudent, we can.
Well, I'm not going to say do that.
I do want to chime in and say that CSDA provides that for all members of CSDA, so that would have been available.
Okay. Well,
So
I guess my point is, have we done? Is our system? Has there been an assessment done? I'm not suggesting that we do, training, but I'm saying, has there been a cybersecurity threat assessment? Just a question.
I'll look into that and report back on that.
That would be useful, like that, we don't really have the capability, the expertise in-house. Our IT support should be aware of all of this.
Right.
We can get our IT. And so, give us a little update. Talk to you about this.
Yeah, so there's really like three things we're talking about here, right? Cybersecurity for our SCADA system and pumping plant operations.
Right.
That was considered when the system was put in place. I don't know, Gabe, if you know if Tesco did recommendations.
About 2 years ago.
2 years ago. So about 2 years ago, we did a security update there. We can do that again as part of, integrating these others.
I think we should. I mean, I don't know if you've been reading the news, but obviously with Anthropic and the new Mythos AI model that's been sort of embargoed by the current presidential administration, just because the threat of the ability of that AI system to exploit vulnerabilities in existing. So my point is, I would feel more comfortable if I'm just better informed about what are we doing, related to some of these critical components and the threat of bad actors infiltrating those systems.
Right.
I would say back to the reorg, when we get this strategic plan, I would like to see, and I would like to understand, because these are some of the questions I would ask, right? It's like, what is the position? What are they going to do? Are we going to save money on consultants? Like we haven't had this discussion. I don't know, right? I've not been informed or educated. Like, I'd like to understand what the bigger picture is relative to the reorg and what's going to happen regarding, bringing stuff in-house versus contracting versus, also what are we doing on the succession planning side? I suspect that has to do with something, but again, I haven't been in any discussions and only can speculate. So I would like a more thorough discussion at our strategic planning session on that.
Actually, Scott, it'd be really helpful if you could provide a job description at that point, and also share with us a little bit more about the process. And even knee deep in our budget process, I will say this is the best budget we've seen in 6 years. I will say that. We've taken a haircut. Everybody's taken a haircut, and it's just being prudent and good stewards with the public's money, period. And I love that you caught that our CIP is very much dated, where even there's an 8.5 million that is no longer on the docket. And I love that you caught that, because that wasn't caught before. So thank you for that. And also, so that's one of the few things I'd like to see then in our next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Trustee Hill?
I don't have anything.
Trustee Gilbert?
Were you finished? Nick, I wasn't sure he was finished.
I can wait. I got one small.
Okay.
Tom, do you have some?
No, I'm good.
I'm just curious on facility repairs. What did we do last year? That was so much.
We did the trash right around company plan number 3.
Oh, that was that.
Which is part of the CIP plan.
And that was, but that was an operations expenditure. Is that how it gets classified? Is that how we?
Yeah, so going through the budget, I did notice that there's how we account for costs and how we need to project how we're using the funds. So yeah, the $500,000 is about $500,000, right? For the trash rack replacement drums at Plan 8 went under a facility repairs, but it's really a capital expenditure item in the CIP plan to repair and replace these life cycle costs. So moving forward, budget and accounting are one thing, and then, but I need to work on projecting and conveying how the funds are being spent that more aligns with the messages that were put to the constituents during the development.
If I could just say something, we asked over and over again, can somebody please update CIP? And we had very inferior reporting on that. So the CIP plan may have things that should be capitalized and may have things that should go through operations, but just having a plan and being able to check off what's been done is really important. And so I'm looking forward to a new process here of reporting on that.
Right, and that will be part of the CIP update, is preparing something that we can put on the website or something that we can convey.
And that is something the board's requested for multiple years. And I'm glad that you're here to help us get moving on that. And I'm looking forward to moving forward.
I will just say I might have some more questions as I kind of read this since I got it earlier this week. So I'm just going to say I may ask for a briefing before next month on this. So just kind of flagging that. But seeing that we're kind of, I'm sorry, we're ready to move on because I have a question.
Go for it. Yeah.
I know we have a closed session item and I do need to leave at 9:30. So I would ask if Madam President, if you are so inclined, that perhaps we bump up the closed session because I think I need to be here for a quorum if we need to take action. So
do we need to take action, sir?
Well, you can, or you don't have to. I hate to do that ambiguous my answer, but you do have a forum because Howard's still on.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
Now, having said that, you're on the subcommittee, committee.
Right.
So I think there's value in you being part of it, but I don't know that there has to be action.
Okay. I would ask, is it okay if we do it now? And I'm sorry for the inconvenience for the public to take this closed session item now, but if we can, and then resume the remainder of the agenda.
That would work for me because I really need to be out of here at 9:30 as well.
All right.
That's good. Okay.
So that last point you just mentioned, if you leave and Nick leaves, you won't have a forum, and you do need a vote on that last item.
Let's
6.1.
do item number 6.1 really quickly.
Maybe if you done super quick and Nick can just step out.
All right. I'm accusing myself from item 6.1 due to a conflict of interest.
And a donut creator. And a donut creator. Okay, you're up.
6.1, super brief. So this is the Greenbrier project. It's just to confirm everybody knows what that is. It's right at the corner where 9905 interchange is. There's a planned open space trail that wraps around the outside of the property that encroaches into our drainage easement along there. Plans have been reviewed by Beaton Hunt and staff. We have no objections to what they're doing. This encroachment permit, though, allows them to be there, and it sets the conditions for allowing us to use the trail to access for maintenance. We're not responsible for damages to the trail as part of our process of getting in and doing the work. I did not believe that I had blanket authority to sign off an encroachment permit without bringing it here to the board. So that's why it's here today.
On to board discussion. Howard, do you have any comments?
No, I don't.
Okay, just checking. Okay. And just to be clear, the city of Sacramento shall provide maintenance for all culverts and erosion control features installed through the open space trail, right?
Correct. We're maintaining the drainage swale, but any facilities through the trail itself are not our responsibility.
Okay, and the city shall use its best efforts to maintain and repair all culverts in a reasonable time frame and manner, including reasonable precautions to avoid damage to outfit. Okay, and it'll be coordinated as well with us during flood season, right?
Well, this is an area that isn't high flood area. It's just it's just drainage along there. It's not a critical drainage area like the other items in the flood season.
Is this likely to increase our need to clean up after the homeless?
No, it's already ours.
It's already.
Yeah.
But they're probably, if there's a trail there, there's more than likely that's gonna just give them more access to.
Yeah,
Set up
the
camp.
trail's already there. The city just wants permission to come on.
Yeah, it's not an area that currently has high homeless issues. There's a lot of course, with the development of the area as it gets established, that could change. Probably depends on how the homeowners
Right.
associations tackle that with the city, but there might be a small impact, but I would expect it to be a major one.
I would like to go ahead and open for public comment. Mr. Beekman, do you have any comments? Okay. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the Greenbrier open space encroachment.
Okay.
And that,
I have a second by Trustee Hill. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. The item's approved.
You want to take what, before we get back? Oh, too late.
Oh, we can't talk about them now.
Come on.
I will say thank you so much for this budget. This is gosh, this is amazing. We have it a month in advance. It's just woo.
Let me ask a quick question. Is there action on the budget today?
No. Today is a review and discuss. A review and discuss. Yeah. Oh, do you have any comments about the budget? Or is there anything you caught? Go ahead.
My curiosity. That's a little bit.
Doug Beeman, living in Thomas. Question I had is, this is a deficit budget. You have a deficit in this budget. And so I went back and looked at the budget that came before the board last year, also a deficit budget. And the one before that, it looked like it was also deficit budget. Why is that?
But I responded to that.
Okay.
So you say deficit, I kind of, when I went through there, I scratched out deficit, it's an excess of expenditures over revenues.
Okay.
We have significant reserves that we have identified as reserve for capital improvement projects.
Okay.
So those reserves are there for that, and there will be a lot of timing movement between the collection of revenues in 2018 and the actual expenditures. And that's, for example, the debt that we had to incur to Teresa. So it's not a structural deficit, it's a planned deficit. Reserves are there. And in my view, and again, I know it's for quite a while, so they're adequate for this phase that we're going through in terms of getting in line and getting a CIP approval plan updated. So it's not anything to be concerned about from my perspective. I understand saying deficits is really a negative, and again, but it's not an operational structural deficit. It's a planned deficit to address CIP. That's a big high level answer, but that's what's going on.
and for example, we just talked about the $500,000 purchase that was made for a piece of equipment last year that ran through the operating budget.
Right.
But it was an item on the CIP plan.
Right. Yeah, I caught that. Okay, thank you.
Thanks for your question.
Thanks for your inquiry. Okay, on to closed session. Okay, coming out of closed session, would you like to report out?
Board and council discussed the matter and gave direction to council. No reportable action.
Okay. We are adjourned.
Thank you. Don't forget to look at the board comments and reports.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Howard.
See you guys. Take
I'll
care.
see you next week.
Okay.